Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurhaliza Meidiana from PBIB. In this video, I'm going to retelling the article about teaching narrative reading by using the subtext strategy for Islamic senior high school students. The author of this title are Mr. Muhamad Holandyah, Ms. Nurhaliza Pitaloka, Mr. Wahidianto. The problem of this study will find out whether or not there was a significant improvement before and after the treatment on the 11th grade students' reading comparison scores at one Islamic senior high school in Palembang by using subtext strategy, and to find out whether or not there was a significant difference on the 11th grade students' reading comparison scores between the students who were taught by using subtext strategy and those who were not. The study was conducted at an Islamic senior high school in Palembang. The study used a convenient sampling technique to select the participants. The sample consisted of 60 students from two different classes in the same school. 30 students from class 11 IPS 2 were assigned as the control group, while other 30 students from class 11 IPS 3 were assigned as the experimental group. The students were not randomly assigned to their groups, so the groups were not equivalent at the beginning of the study. Instead, the researchers used pretest to determine the initial reading comparison levels of the students and ensure that the students in both groups had a similar reading comparison score before the treatment. The method that used in the study were used a quasi-experimental design, pretest, post-test, non-equivalent group design. There was two groups, experimental and control group, which was given the same pretest and post-test. The experimental group was given treatment by using subtext strategy, but the control group was not. The technique used to collect data in the study was reading comparison tests in the form of multiple choice. The same test items were used for both the pretest and post-test to measure the progress of students' reading comparison scores before and after the treatment. The pretest was administered before the treatment to assess the students' initial reading comparison scores, while the post-test was administered after the treatment to evaluate the effectiveness of the subtext strategy. The technique of data analysis used in this study was inferential statistical analysis, specifically t-test. The data obtained from the experimental design were analyzed using the SPSS 20 software. The t-test was used to compare the mean scores of the pre-test and post-test to determine if there was a significant improvement in the student reading comparison scores after they were taught using the subtext strategy. The findings of the study are that there was a significant improvement in reading comparison scores from pre-test to post-test in both the experimental and control groups, with the experimental group showing a higher level of improvement after being taught using the subtext strategy. The pretest scores showed that the control group had higher scores than the experimental group, which could be due to the experimental group's lack of engagement during the pretest. The study concludes that the use of the subtext strategy significantly improved the reading comparison scores of 11th grade students in one Islamic senior high school in Palembang. The study also found that there was a significant difference between the reading comparison scores of students who were taught using the subtext strategy and those who were taught using the teacher's usual strategy. The study suggests that the subtext strategy can be considered as an alternative strategy for teaching reading comparison and in narrative text.